Hello, I'm Ian Blackley. I do the More Music Breakfast at Forever Classic 6IX, and I'm a lifelong motorcyclist. I'm 61 and I've had a motorcycle licence since I was 17. I got one before a car licence, and I've owned over 50 motorcycles in that time. I've ridden across Australia and back 8 or 9 times, and I've circumnavigated the country once. I love them. The thing that really scares me about watching people ride motorcycles when they're going to work is the number of guys and girls that you see. I mean, there are obviously less women to ride motorcycles than guys, but you see people lane filtering down the freeway to 100 kilometres an hour plus, and you sort of think, you're throwing the dice. You really got to be, you got no idea. And the number of people that I see just on the streets, they expect people to stop at, red lights. They expect people to stop and give way, stop signs, and they don't always do that. And the whole thing about riding a motorcycle safely is forget about who's at risk or who's breaking the law. What you've got to do is get home in one piece. And if you get home in one piece and you're not injured, you're the winner. You are the winner. Never trust anybody to stop at a red light, stop at a give way sign, stop at a stop sign. Watch, you've got to watch even driveways and things like that, especially car parks. People pop out of car parks and shopping centres all the time. They don't look. You've got to be 100% intent on getting from A to B in one piece, because it's bloody dangerous out there. It really, really is. One thing about riding motorcycles, people say to me, it's so dangerous riding a bike. And I go, well, no, not really. I mean, the price you pay can be heavy for a lack of attention or if you're going to be silly, but inherently it's not dangerous riding a motorcycle at all. If you do stupid things, then you tend to pay the price. And a lot of people do stupid things, They expect people to stop. As I just said, they expect people to do the right thing, and not many people do the right thing. And, in this day and age of mobile phones, and, you know me, I got a real thing about people on mobile phones. While you're riding a motorcycle, it's fairly safe because, you're not on a mobile phone. You're concentrating on what you're doing. You're not playing with kids in the back seat. You're not leaning over and mucking around in the footwell, getting something out of your bag. You're not playing with music. You're not daydreaming. I mean, some of the things you see, people on the Commander Freeway, they're reading books, eating cereal, putting on makeup. I mean, none of that you do on a motorcycle. But if you're going to be stupid, you will pay the price. And some of the people that I see riding motorcycles around the place, they're really asking for trouble because they really don't know how to ride, especially when you start going through bends and things and you think, you have no idea what a line is and where you should position yourself on the road. And best of luck, because what I think is going to happen soon is we're going to read about you in the paper. And it's very, very sad because there's no need for it. Back in the 70s when I started riding, I mean, you had things like the Honda 754 and the Kawasaki 900. And the Kawasaki 900 back then, 83 horsepower. Wow. Well, you're looking at 200 horsepower bikes these days. And back then they had mild steel cradle frames. You had Dunlop K181 tyres about that wide. When things started getting a little bit shabby, they would let you know. And your bum would tighten up and you go, ooh, I better slow down. Well, if you rode back then, or even in the early 80s, and you do what most normal people do, like you get married and you buy a house and you have a family, a lot of guys, they don't get on a bike for 20, 25 years. And all of a sudden, the house is paid off, the kids have left home. Oh, can I get another bike, Dale? Oh yeah, but you be careful. Yeah, no worries. Well, they go and buy the sort of motorcycles that are available today. And compared to what they were back then, I mean, they are a surgical instrument. Like, you get on them and they are that tight, the tyres are that good to a point, and you get on it and you ride it and you think to yourself, geez, I feel like Valentino Rossi. I'm so good, I haven't lost it. Because they make you feel that confident. And the point is, with these motorcycles of today, they actually don't give you any warning, Great, if you can afford to buy expensive bikes with, sideways traction control and ABS braking, sideways, all the fruit, because there are a lot of bikes available today that take all of that sort of drama out of it because they cover all your mistakes. But there are still a lot of bikes that don't cover your mistakes, and they're mainly the bikes that these guys go and buy after they've been off them for a long time because they're not expensive. And most of them wouldn't have ABS brakes, let alone anything else, let alone traction control and anti-wheelie control and, all that sort of stuff. And they feel very, very good. But the point is, when they get carried away and their confidence builds, when they go, they just go. There's none of this, oh, I better slow down. It's like when they go, it's like you're off the road into a pole, a tree, building, car. I mean, it's bloody dangerous. It really is. So you've got to be very, very careful. And I'd actually, if you're going to get back on a motorcycle, don't let the ego get in the way. I would actually be going and sort of having a bit of a refresher course, go and do a refresher course on a late model bike, go and take a few lessons, because that's all you probably need, just to remind yourself. But, we can all die. I mean, I've been riding motorcycles constantly since I was 17. I've had a license for a long, long time, and I've had a few accidents in my time, but, I haven't had one for a long time, because you sort of got to be, you've just got to keep on top of it and just be very, very careful. And when you ride in traffic, you've just got to start taking notice of little things, like you can actually see through car windows. You can see someone who gets their hand to move to change lane and flick the indicator. You know when they're going to do it. You can see the way they look in their rear vision mirrors. It's called roadcraft. And that's what staying alive is all about. You've got to get on top of your roadcraft, and you cannot trust anyone, anytime, if they're in another motor vehicle. I know accidents that have happened head-ons between two bikes. Two guys get killed. How can you have a head-on between two bikes? I'll tell you how. Someone's taken a corner wrongly. Instead of coming out and coming into the corner, they've come in and they've drifted out. Bang. There is an art to riding it. Not everybody is, coordinated enough to actually ride a bike. I remember when I was teaching riding motorcycles back in the 80s for a while, I got a guy on his 47th lesson. And I said to him, after having been with him for an hour, I said, look, mate, some people just aren't meant to. I said, you're a little bit unco. He actually came off his panic stop. 47th lesson, he came off his panic stop. And we picked him up and I went, mate, seriously, no, don't. Do yourself a favour, you're going to die. Anyway, he complained to the guy that owned the riding school, and I was threatened with a sack. And I said, where's your duty of care here? Excuse me? And I left not long after that. But, just to get money out of people for the wrong reasons, in my opinion, I wasn't real happy about that. But yeah, I couldn't believe that. 47 lessons and he just fell off on his 250 on a panic stop. People like that shouldn't be riding motorcycles. It's the old green light, sit at the lights, head in the lap. You know what they're doing. They're on their bloody phone, and you can tell by the way people drive, whether they're slow or whether they're moving in the lane, and you can see them on the Kwinana Freeway at 100 kilometres an hour, or the Mitchell. It's like, you just follow them for a second and you look at the car and you can see the position of their head, what they're doing, and much danger, Will Robinson. I think I'll get past this person or I'll just get right out of the way. And it happens all the time. And it doesn't surprise me in the least how many people get killed on the roads, especially in cars too, with nothing to do with motorcycles. But when you're on a motorcycle, as we all know, common sense would dictate that you don't have any protection. You come off, you're in trouble. It's going to hurt. Sorry, it's going to hurt, And you always got to wear protective gear as well. But I've seen guys riding around with their leather jackets and the expensive helmets, no gloves, in shorts, and you think, what are you thinking? I came off in 1985 without gloves on. Took the palm out of this hand. They were talking about sewing my hand and my leg as a bit of a skin graft. And I've never ever ridden anywhere. And that was just around town. It was in Subiaco, and Jollymont actually, that I came off on a bit of dirt, grabbed hold of the front brake and the thing just wiped out and hit the ground and took off skin everywhere. And when you're lying in the emergency department at Charlie Gardner's and you've got a couple of nurses scrubbing the gravel out of your palm and up your arm and down your leg, like with a brush, geez, it hurts. It's not happy, And that had nothing to do with anybody. That was just me making a mistake, But I wasn't dressed correctly, because the first thing that goes is your hands. It's just a quick reaction. It just goes out, bang. And this is what, you know, and even even the MotoGP riders, I mean, if you look at people like Mick Doohan and people, they're missing a finger or two, or it's chopped off halfway through. That's because that's the first thing that goes. You can't help it, you put them out, you know. So you got to dress correctly, you got to be smart, and don't trust anybody. And learn some roadcraft, like start being very observant with people in cars. Like just look at the way that they're moving. Are they, as the lights turn green and 10 seconds later they're still sitting there because their head's in their lap? Gee, you wonder what they're doing. They're not contemplating the navel. You know, they're on Facebook or they're texting. And texting to me and being on a mobile phone or a car, that requires far more of a jolt to the system, to me, especially for serial offenders. They should, you get caught 3 times doing that, you should lose your licence for quite some time. And there's not enough points and there's not enough money to actually jar people around because they all think they can get away with it. And to me, it's crazy. It's one of my bugbears, as you know. Mobile phone use in cars.